Federal officials say the scale is even worse than we first thought and warned that more than a half of $18 billion, you're looking at the numbers here, paid out across state programs since 2018 may have been fraudulent.
Of course, it's a big update on that fraud scheme, scam, whatever you want to call it, that was coming out of the state of Minnesota under Tim Walz. And what we thought originally was a $1 billion scam looks like maybe upwards of $9 billion. And it's very easy to just change that one number and be like, oh, 1 billion, 9 million. Remember, or 9 billion. Remember when you're talking about each additional billion, how many millions that billion is, Will?
That's right. I mean,
you can do that math for me.
Exactly. It's 9 times more.
9 times one. Yes, I know that.
Yeah.
But when you think of the scale of a billion,
it's a lot of money.
It's so much that it's almost an unfathomable amount when you start talking about multi-billion.
Yeah, and at some point you get almost like number fatigue. Like when the U.S. government talks about trillions of dollars, you're like, I don't comprehend that, so I'm not even going to think about it. But I feel like the same happens similarly with billion. We were shocked when we thought $1 billion of taxpayer money had been fraudulently taken from the Minnesotans as well as the American taxpayers. But now we're finding out from the assistant U.S. attorney that it is $9 billion is more likely, which is half of the amount of federal funding for these Medicaid programs throughout 14 different programs that was given by the federal government. It's also interesting number here. $9 billion is about roughly the GDP of Somalia itself, yeah. I mean, a full country.
So $9 billion. Their $18 billion that we've now uncovered outdoes their own country of origin, Somalia, by $7 billion. Their fraud scheme does better than the entire country's GDP in just this small matter of time. But you think about it, you say, how do they do this and no one paid attention? That's what happened. You don't have to be...
How do you spend $9,000 million?
You don't have to be really smart. All they did was they made up fake nonprofits with fake imagery, fake buildings, fake healthcare centers. And you guess what, Logan? I guarantee you in Minnesota, Tim Walz, no one looked to see if they were real.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, this would not have been hard to figure out. If someone said they were doing a business or a nonprofit or housing or healthcare, they'd have to be filing with you. You'd have access to their records. You'd also be able to drive down the street, see if the business is actually operating.
Yeah.
Where is this healthcare being provided? Not hard questions.
I think we should play this bite because it's what we referenced earlier. This is from Assistant U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota. His name is Joe Thompson, and he had this to say at that press conference when going over all of this. This is bite 7.
And taxpayers deserve to know the truth of the fraud. The fraud is not small. It isn't isolated. The magnitude cannot be overstated. What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud. It's swamping Minnesota and calling into question everything we know about our state.
So as the federal government continues to look into this, you also think that there is real trouble for the politicians there, Jordan. Ilhan Omar is up for re-election because she's a member of the House, and that comes up every several years. She had some of these individuals that have already been convicted of fraud, she had some ties to. But then you also think about the governor who oversaw all this. The buck stops with him. He is the executive of the state, and he's up for re-election trying to become the first third-term governor in Minnesota modern history, but this is all going on as we look at. You can't deny that the political implications are probably what those members of the Minnesota elected body are thinking of, more so maybe even than the $9 billion that could have gone to Minnesotans who needed it instead of to fraudsters who stole it.
Remember how I played this off at the beginning? Like this is nothing? Right. This is like racism. It was Islamophobic, I guess, and xenophobic to even claim that there were more than a few bad actors. And they tried to say, well, this was happening all over the country and everybody was doing this. Yes, there was a lot of fraud, but to have one community take half of an entire state's allotment of funding, half, and did nothing with it but send it places and make it disappear. And so now Somalia, which is a terrorist state, has had an influx of $6 billion more than they make a year in their GDP. Think about that. We just as taxpayers, because of Tim Walz And the morons working there, who I guess just wanted to look the other way so they didn't get called Islamophobic for just trying to look out for crime, have realized now they have funded a terrorist state, which also is a good place for foreign terrorists to live in because it's hard for our U.S. military to operate there. It's so dangerous. That's also the pirates. That's still happening on a basis. So we just gave Somalia an extra year and a half of money.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these quotes that were
So you're
coming
hard
out
on taxpayer dollars.
from this first assistant U.S. Attorney, Joe Thompson. One of my favorite quotes is, every day we look under a rock and find a new $50 million fraud scheme.
Yeah. I mean,
$50 million.
$50 million is
Every day.
tiny compared to $18 billion.
Yeah.
Hey, stop stealing half of a government's program. Look, to even think that that's like something you get away with is wild.